So let's talk round 5 of the Prem as I go into each of the matches, look at some of the highlights, talk about the themes from the teams, the players, and of course we are just around the corner from these November internationals. We started off with an absolute stormer, Northampton. Really exciting win over Saracens. Saracens really rallied as well, so that was a good match. Less of a good match was Exeter versus Gloucester. Exeter getting the momentum going in their campaign there into the top 4 as we can see. Newcastle really torrid again, some poor defending. Harlequins ran away with it at home. Bath get back on track after losing narrowly to Leicester last time, so 40-15 against their West Country rivals. That's a nice one for them, although it was a little bit of a slog in some of that game. And then a really close one between two sides who play very similarly, and we had a good fight back from Sale, and it was 1 point in the end, Leicester getting another win. And that leaves the table like this, with Northampton Saints the only unbeaten side at 23 points, Bath Rugby pushing back up there 21, Exeter, what a difference a season makes. They're in the top 4. Saracens hanging in there. Leicester in 5th. And then we have Bristol, Sale, Harlequins, Gloucester and Newcastle, though looking definitely like the weakest of the bunch. Newcastle really disappointing in this round. Now, I've put timestamps below if you do want to go to a specific game or just watch them all and get the feel of the round. We'll start off with what I think was the best game of the lot. Northampton 43, Saracens 31. I loved it from the off. High intensity, high ball speed, and I think Northampton played a big part in that by the way they attack. I think they are the best attacking side in the Prem when they get going. Sarries, though, can leverage their muscle, and they do early on. We see Atoje showing his physicality, just holding up for Sketty with great strength, but then Mitchell and Finsmith attack. It's a different level. I love how quickly Mitchell is going from run, kick, pass, making sharp decisions. He's looking in top form, probably the best I've seen him actually. Early on, Tommy Freeman also had a fantastic game, started with a bang. The best we've seen him in the Prem so far, I think, operating on the wing, which is interesting. We'll come to England selection in another video. I may have already released that before this one, actually. Anyway, he had one bullocking run up the left, getting momentum going. Ruck speed is high, and eventually Saints undo Saracens with a really clever Smith grubber kick on the front foot. I love it when you grubber kick, taking the ball to the face of the defence. It's perfect. It pops up for Hendy. An easy finish. Just brilliant attack from Saints. 5-0. You can see Saracens trying to slow down the ruck because that's where Saints are best. Everyone knows it. But they can't in the first half, and the attack is superb. It's good to see the flankers of Pearson and Pollock together, or the back row as I should say. Pollock playing 8. That's interesting. Again, we'll discuss that as regards to England. But yeah, Pearson adds that extra power as well, punching the carry, and Pollock is clearly concerned he's not going to get enough attention this year, so he's bleached his already blonde hair pretty much white. He definitely wants to play the pantomime villain, and I think he will. I think he'll love it. Saints' launch plays are so slick, but also some good defence from Saracens, has to be said. On 14 minutes, as Tadero goes close, Burke and Theo Dan decide to let him go over the line and hold him up. That is a new tactic these days with the goal line dropout, just letting players go over the line if you know you've got them held up, so that was smart. Now, we mentioned in the last round, if you use Van der Mesch properly in attack, he's a real weapon, and they've got him fired up. He's coming onto the ball. 15 minutes, he literally disintegrates Tizard and Maui from a standing start. That's what he can do. Makes 10 metres when he shouldn't really, but Finsmith drops the ball. That could have been a try right there. But then Finsmith makes up for it. The way he sweeps back the attack from open to blind is fantastic. Just class, right into the face again, and another grubber on the front foot. Max Malins makes a hash of it. Malins isn't close to England selection at the moment. Not quite looking the same player he used to be. Let me know if you agree there. But Pearson follows up that one to score. So a deserved 2-try lead after 17 minutes, 12-0. Let's just talk about Theo Dan briefly. He is looking the most explosive, the most athletic I've ever seen him. But his lineouts can go awry. Early on, he lost 2. A wild throw for a third isn't much better. But then he comes back into it and pulls his lineouts back. He's in the England squad. Where should he be? Should he be in the 23? Should he get a start? It's a tricky one because physically he's got it. He's just got to nail those lineouts consistently, and then he will get starts eventually. But just an interesting one. Let me know what you think of Theo Dan. But a minute later, Northampton at their absolute best on 19 minutes. It's just too much for a scrambling Sarries. Tadero can't quite ground it, and they could have got another try. They could have scored a lot more here in this first half when they're dominating. Pollock's winding them up, and Sarries looking very old school compared to this modern attacking unit in the first half. And then we get the third try for Northampton on 24 minutes, the best of the bunch. Mitchell and Finn Smith commit off a solid scrum. Big Van der Mesch takes out 3 Saracens forwards. That's what he's there for, making the space out wide. But still, it's a perfect pass to Hendy, then on to Freeman, who leaves Malins grasping at thin air. They could have done with a couple more conversions, that's for sure. There's a couple of signs, I guess, of Noah Kalori's high ball prowess, but not in attack. They try to get him into attack once, and he doesn't quite take it, so Kalori can't repeat his heroics of the last round. On 28 minutes, we have 1 attack for Saracens and 1 try, and it has to be said, a bit of a shocker one-on-one tackle from Finn Smith. He makes up for it later on, but that's not a good one. Just misses Nick Tompkins, and he's through. Burke in support. That is the try they wanted after not really having any attack, so that's 17-7. And as good as the Saints' attack has been, the defence isn't quite up to it. Tom Lockett, who's been caught out a couple of times in the Prem so far, he's out of position in defence, rushing up, leaving Dan free to get an offload when he's not there. And Saracens really should score here as they camp on the line, and Yarma Christie nearly grounds it, a bit too desperate maybe to score. The Saints dislodge the ball, so Saints survive there. They could have been a lot closer actually, Saracens, even though not having a lot of the attack. But Saracens are just getting back into the game after that onslaught from Saints where they could have scored a lot more points actually. Burke, a really nice grubber in behind. Jet shoes from Jack Bracken, too much for Freeman. Maybe he thinks it's covered, I don't know, but he gets there very easily, and that's a try for Bracken, 17-12. Now, Northampton's Achilles heel this year has been leaking penalties when under pressure, and they do so here, and they give penalty after penalty, and they get a team yellow. It's Pearson who's off, and Gonzalez muscles over to get Saracens actually in the lead at half-time, which you wouldn't have thought after that Saints onslaught, so 17-19 after half-time. So into the second half, and Saints are a man down. We've got Theo Dan, who's shored up his line-out throwing, and he's carrying the ball really nicely. Sarries are on the tack with their mauls. Dan also getting the explosive carries. 14-man Saints leaking more penalties, and it's a fantastic double top throw from Theo Dan, setting up a really good chance. The big Sarries forwards smashing forward 5 metres out, and somehow Tom Willis stays on his feet through a double tackle as Dingwall and Coles just slip off him and powers to 1 metre out. Tizard finishes, so good power there from Saracens. They push further ahead, 17-24. So Saints need to get back into this game. They're back up to 15 players, and they launch a good sweeping attack, their best one of the half. Quality handling out wide. Freeman goes really close, but then a meaty Saracen scrum ends that one there, but signs the Saints are back into it. On 51 minutes, Henry Pollock goes, I've had enough of this, and just makes something from nothing. This is what he can do that no one else can do on the pitch. He sprints 20 metres up straight from a line out to take the ball clean off the fly half Burke. Amazing interception. Gets Saints on the front foot in the 22. He gets a nice offload to Pearson, and they're 5 metres out. Riccioni badly offside, so that's a yellow. Back to Saracens there, so Saints batter the line. Pearson streams on the ball, extreme pace to score, all from Pollock's interception, and that's what kind of turned the game back to Saints' favour. 24-26, and then they go ahead 8 minutes later with an unstoppable high-pace attack. Brilliant stuff, timing, coordination, just marches Sarries back at the point of attack as it swings all over the place. Breathtaking stuff, and Freeman finishes as Saracens just run out of numbers. Team attacks don't get better than that. They're back ahead, 31-26. But it could have been different. Saracens absolutely could have won this game. On the hour, the Brackens, Jack and Charlie, have a 2v1. I think they're going to walk it in, but Jack Bracken just fires the pass too hard and they muck it up. So that was painful. And then 7 minutes later, Saints score the killer try. Too many quick phases once again. Sarries run out of numbers once again. Another try for Freeman. Nice wide conversion, who hadn't been kicking that great. 38-26. With the game just slipping away, there was a bit of a lucky penalty for Saracens, but very nicely taken by Charlie Bracken, and Malins gets a try back. So it's 38-31, close in the final 10. The Saracens midfield of Farrell and Tompkins tries to conjure up something, but they're a bit slow and clunky. Malins overruns the final pass, and Freeman gobbles up a crossfield kick from that transition attack for his 4th try, and the game right there. 43-31. So big win for Saints, who stay top. Beating Saracens is no mean feat. Again, Saracens could have won that game, but just not quite enough attacking prowess like Saints have. So things to work on for them, but still some good signs for them as well. That was a great game, 43-31. Okay, let's talk about Exeter 39, Gloucester 12. Not the greatest game. Gloucester, some really disappointing attack. They got possession, they just couldn't do anything with it. Exeter getting some momentum, but lost their way in the second half, but still good win for them, getting into the top 4, of course. The scrum for Exeter was really impressive. They destroy one on 3 minutes. Scott CEO destroying Laulala. Was he a good signing? I don't know. Watching him all game, not very quick round the pitch. Maybe not the player that All Black used to be. It definitely helps, I think, having Dweber at hooker in the scrum as well. Plus, I think his throwing is pretty decent. And around the park, I think that was an excellent signing. So straight from that, Slade kicks to the corner, and Slade's been doing a lot of kicking in this Prem. Really probably playing the best rugby I've seen of him for ages. We get a monster maul. It just flies over, even though Gloucester stay on the ground to counter-drive. They're nowhere near. So that was dispiriting for Gloucester from the off. 7-0 to Dweber, that try was. And it looks like Gloucester are going nowhere. But then the ball goes to young wing Cotgreave, who we did interview last season, and he just runs clean round 4 Exeter forwards. But he's got Fewa-Busu to beat, and boy does he beat him in and out, making him look a bit silly, that one, setting up Joseph for a stunner from nothing. So he's one to watch for the future for sure. 7-all. Then on 14 minutes we get a lovely team try from Exeter. Lovely flat line from Fizzalau, punches up to start it off. He is playing so well as he matures. He will get into an England squad at some point in the future. It goes crossfield kick to the right to Fewa-Busu, who makes some ground. Back to the left, and then a hard line from Slade, just like last week, and it's a bit too easy as they make that ground over Gloucester phase after phase. 14-7, all or nothing for Gloucester. They can try the Harlem Globetrotters stuff, flipping the ball all over the place. Thomas Williams leading the way. I mean, he is so going to leave Gloucester at the end of his contract, I'm sure, but he is carrying this team at the moment. The ball is swung back to Cotgreave, who's such a quick player, beats Hodge, but to be fair to Fewa-Busu, he holds him up on the line. Impressive stuff, but the next phase goes over with Freddie Thomas. So that was a good try for Gloucester, 21-12, and Gloucester get plenty of ball, but number 8 Bockenham is stripped by Fizzalau too easily. Then there's a not straight throw from Seb Blake as they're killing these attacks before they've started, and to cap it off, they lose their big danger man in midfield, Will Joseph, so maybe their chance hobbled off with him. And it has to be said on the half hour, I make a note how odd the Gloucester open play defence is, and their attacking lineup actually, but defensively they have plenty of time to line up nice and flat, get their numbers sorted, but then there's a massive gap, and 3 of them are flat, and then there's a massive gap and another 3, so Fizzalau just goes straight through. When there's plenty of time to set, Thomas Williams and a winger are floating off behind to mark the same man, and I just don't get it. In the end, Exeter only get 3 points from that break, but the point is there, so that's 24-12. Again, 5 minutes later, a third Gloucester attack is mucked up before it starts. The maul detaches, then reattaches, so it's obstruction, so just more self-harm from Gloucester. Then on 38 minutes, another example of poor Gloucester defensive line-out, just from open play. We have a ruck, Icky Tao runs a planned inside ball move, but Gloucester have got 3 forwards close on one side, but only 1 on the other, with no communication as they wander back without organising. And I think it's Knight in the guard position, and your job there is to guard the edge of the ruck, but he just wanders away. So the inside ball is a complete run through for Icky Tao. On rewatch, I think it's Blake who overfolds, and then Basham wanders back to the same side, and they just stand around watching. So they need to get drilled on that for sure. And it would have been a try, but the pass to Icky Tao was actually forward, but my point still stands from the defensive organisation. And the half finishes with Slade splatting Charlie Atkinson man and ball into touch, and that kind of sums it up. I think Atkinson's actually doing a decent job playing at 15, but he's a fly half playing at 15 because of course Gloucester lost Santi Carreras, and you can't replace him with a fly half, a good fly half, but someone who probably shouldn't be there. You've got Ross Byrne, he's been signed, but I think he's a bit average, to be honest. I don't see anything special about his game. Charlie Atkinson should probably be playing at 10, so just another reason why Gloucester are just man for man a bit weaker than last year. The second half starts with Gloucester's continued mission to muck up every starter play. This time Max Llewellyn dropping an unforced error from a line out, and is Max Llewellyn going to be playing for Wales in the November internationals? Well, he's in the squad, but he just makes a lot of errors. On 49 minutes, something has juiced up Exeter's scrum this year as they destroy Gloucester once again. But still, Plenty of attacking ball for Gloucester. 53 minutes. They get through some phases in the Exeter 22, but like the defensive shape, the attacking one is confusing. It's very slow. They don't seem to be knowing where they're going to be. They have all their players on one side of the pitch, and their pack, I'm afraid, is really, really slow. Maybe you've got Venter, who's fairly quick, but they're fairly lumpy. They're not getting the offloads, the breaks, like the likes of Fizzle are doing for Exeter. So they're just struggling man for man, and they're struggling in their coordination. So they need to sort something out. And actually, on the hour, it's been 20 minutes of pure Gloucester possession, but for the millionth time it seems Gloucester can't get past a launch play. This time Llewellyn takes up a pre-planned play and Gloucester just don't secure the ruck, even though it's straight off that line out. Gloucester give away 3 penalties in a row, but Exeter haven't been great in the second half and they lose another line out, so it's not like Exeter have been fantastic in this second half. They've fallen off a bit. Then finally a bit of life for Exeter in the second half as Ethan Roots, who's had a brilliant start to the Prem, playing the best rugby I've seen him play in attack and defence, he flips an offload to Fewabusu. They get in behind the Gloucester defence. They swing it back wide to the left. Hodge, a perfect kick for Slade, who had Byrne and Barton though, so still plenty to do. And he grubbers through. Byrne too slow on the chase. Barton doesn't do a lot either. And Slade gathers and scores. Classy stuff from Slade. Poor defence from Gloucester again. But 32-12, that's the game gone. And then George Barton drops the ball in the act of passing, kind of sums it up, and eventually they get another try to Exeter. Kane James makes a good break, doesn't quite make it, but then they get a maul and they get a try off that, so it is 37-12 to Exeter. Good win for Exeter. They fell off a bit in the second half, but they got the job done. Gloucester just not good enough. Attack, defence, something's up there. Personnel-wise, it's not looking too healthy. Then let's have a quick talk about Harlequins 42, Newcastle 14. And I mean quick, because there's really not a lot to say about this one. Quins, they've been inconsistent, but at home, they can turn the style on against a side who's not quite so good. So you could say, are they flat track bullies? Which is kind of their stereotype, but they did what they had to do and some good tries. The first one, Northmore just going over the top of his opposite man, Max Clark. I mean, a tricky tackle, but he didn't really get close to stopping him. The second one, though, is pretty schoolboy from another Clark, the big second row, as Newcastle get enough numbers on the line to defend it, but Clark is just watching the ball rather than his man, so Green just walks in. That's pretty rubbish, to be honest. The third one is really poor from Max Clark. It's just a basic backs move off a set piece. We've got Marcus Smith, ball in 2 hands, taking the ball out wide. Clark is covering to tackle him, but he's just too slow, so Smith goes through and gives inside to Porter. So again, just not quite good enough personnel-wise. I mean, Clark, when he played for Bath, had some really big games early in his career, but he's not the player he was. The fourth is maybe a little unlucky as the scrum half Cruz tries to wait for the ball to dribble out, but Isgrove picks his pocket with a really good chip to score. And then the next one is just a horror for the Red Bulls. Just terrible tackling as the smallest guy on the pitch, Green, slips through 4 tacklers. That's 35-0. The rest is academic. Just not good enough defending from Newcastle to get even close. Then let's talk about the West Country derby. Bath 40, Bristol 15. In the end, a big win for Bath, but Bristol made it tough for a lot of this match. They are making themselves hard to beat, even though they're down on numbers, they're not quite themselves. Starting off with Finn Russell, I mean, one of his weaknesses is he can be too relaxed, and he was a bit in this game. Some kicks charged down, and then after the third charge down kick, he passes the ball off, even though he had time to kick it. And when he passes it, he just does it all kind of nonchalant. And he's just a bit of a strange fish, that guy. Does what he wants sometimes, but that's just Finn Russell. On 7 minutes, a really good jackal from probably the best all-round prop in the world for me, Thomas du Toit. Not much complexity in the Bath attack, and there wasn't all game. They went very direct. It was a bit of a hard watch sometimes, but Cokanasiga, Pepper do some good carries. Another penalty, 5-metre line out. Bristol actually clear the ball, but Cokanasiga again bashes into 2 and flips off the ground. Really nice offload to get a 2v1. It goes to Pepper for a nice finish, and it's 5-all. And then suddenly in this first half, a massive gale picks up. It actually stops at half-time, but it picks up in Bath's face, which is a bit harsh, and they cannot make any yards on their kick. So they keep on kicking, which is a little bit weird. And on 20 minutes, one of Bristol's strengths has been their maul this season, and a huge drive gets them to 10 metres out. Spencer pretty lucky as he flaps at the ball one-handed, and it's not given as a penalty try and a yellow, because that definitely could have been, because he was nowhere near. But anyway, from a line-out, Bath are completely sold by a decoy jump. It looks like a try, but actually it's a dummy throw, and Ogre steps in the pitch, but the TMO spots it and he's not allowed to call it because it's not in his remit and the ref misses it. It's a bit weird, so it's actually given us a try, 5-12, so a messy try for a messy game. On 32 minutes we get the first bit of quality from Bath just at the right time. It's a slow maul, but Russell waits a perfect chip over the top to Lawrence. Loads of time to score. El Saudi, the fullback, probably should have covered, and he gets a bit miffed as Lawrence drops the ball on his head. There's a scuffle everywhere. It's really bad-tempered all game, and they can actually get a penalty from halfway off that as well because of El Saudi's reaction. So that's 12-15. And then Bath go ahead with some nice offloads from Pepper and Dunn as they grind through contract. Pretty slow stuff, but some good offloads there, and they get a finish in the corner for Redpath, who makes a bit of a meal of it. And then in half-time, the sun is out, the wind, the rain is gone, and Bath actually take full control. Again, nothing flash, big set piece, good ball retention, size, power. Lawrence powers through Moroney from a standing start. That's impressive, but it's ruled out for an earlier knock-on, and TMO interventions were pretty painful in this game. But more pick and go, more forward power, and Toy blasts over. But of course the TMO rules it out for another knock-on. On 55 minutes, a nice starter play from Bath. Russell out the back to Redpath, then to Lawrence. Nice flat line break, but Lawrence for some reason passes to no one, so a bit frustration here with Lawrence because he does some great things, but then his skills can let him down a touch. We'll see if he starts for England. They will need his power, that's for sure. And then Arundel finally gets a touch and beats 3 players. The pens are coming Bath's way. Lawrence can't grab a chip kick. That was a tricky one, but the pressure continues. Bristol are fighting to defend every inch, but after 20 minutes of pure pressure, the yellow card was going to come and Grondona goes off. And then on 63 minutes, Bath play their ace card again, their stellar bench. It makes a difference in so many games. And Bristol still down a player, remember. Barbary, a couple of big carries as he looks fresh as he would be off the bench. Lawrence getting into it. There's a lovely weighted crossfield kick from Russell, and it's an easy finish for Thockenseger in the end. So that was a really good one. Bonus point try. 26-15. There's some really nice counter-rucks in this game from Rubiolo, the Bristol second row, but it's in a losing cause, of course. And then maybe the winning moment as Kepu Tupilutu gets a jackal from a good Thockenseger tackle. More heroic Bristol defence, more one-dimensional attack from Bath. And Underhill dives over. It looks like the game is done there, but no, the TMO wants to pipe up. Eventually the try is given, but then there's a scuffle. It's all over the place. There's a penalty on halfway. It looks like Bristol might score, but then Arundel pops up to get an interception and goes the length of the pitch. It's like 92nd minute or something crazy like that. It's 40 points to 15. That game could have just done with being over. But anyway, Bath get the big win. And then finally, Leicester 36, Sale 35. 2 teams that play quite similar, actually, and it was who was going to play the better game on the day. But the first try, just perfect Tigers rugby. Really good high ball gather from Hassel Collins, who's very unlucky not to be with England. The forwards soften up the defence of Sale, and swift hands to finish. James O'Connor, nice one. Parisi to Radwan for a really good finish from Radwan. He is right on form, 5-0. And from there, it's just a bit of a bun fight, really, backwards and forwards. On the half hour, Massey White makes a good burst, but a good scramble from Leicester. Nice jackal from Rafael, who was left out of the Wales squad, but then a bit messy in attack for Leicester as well. And then on 34 minutes, finally something a bit better from the Tigers. Strong maul. Then Parisi out the back to James O'Connor. Wide to Stewart at pace. Then wide again to Radwan. It's a lovely, lovely try. And Radwan cuts back in, wrong-footing the cover of O'Flaherty and Luke James as they both drift without communication. So there's a breakthrough. 15-0. It looks like Leicester might stretch away, but a good response from Sale as they just go through their phases. And Ford and Dupree whiz the wide ball to O'Flaherty, who finishes the try. 15-7. And it actually looks like the last chance of the half is going to be Sales, but the line out is badly overthrown from Cowan Dickey. Actually results in a penalty, and the Tigers go to the 22 for their line out. Interesting, they use Stewart to the kicks to the line instead of O'Connor, so clearly not quite trusting O'Connor kicking. But then it's a lovely pop to Cracknell from Lemire from the launch play, and Whiteley can offload behind his back to Henderson, and he charges in. But then a response from Sale as the young English props, Apoko Fajura and Harper, shunt back Leicester for a penalty. From that penalty, Sale go 10 plus phases, battering the line, and Ford selects the perfect pass, which he did in this game so well. Slots Luke James under the post. There it is, 22-14, better attack from Sale, and the hope is back. But then on 40 minutes, Leicester strike back. Really nice high ball take from Stewart, who did that all game. And then Hassel-Collins burst through a weak tackle from Harper. A couple of poor plays from Harper in defence, actually. And Liebenberg gets the pop to Ilioni, who's clean through another weak tackle. I think it was Harper again, but don't quote me on that. Ilioni has a big future for England. He runs straight and direct and just explodes into contact. So that's 29-14. And it looks like Leicester might cruise to victory, but no, Sale won't have any of it. It is an optimistic interception attempt from Radwan that gives Sale a penalty. They go to 5 metres out. They soften up the defence a bit, but Ford again picking the right option. Brilliant stuff. Leicester have time to set in defence, but it's a perfectly timed flat pass again from Ford that catches them out, just choosing the right option. Lots of good options for Sale, which helps, of course. So it's back to 29-21. It's like two boxers exchanging blows as Leicester launch their attack on 58 minutes, building nicely. Power, not subtle, of course. It's the small Whiteley who actually dummies and goes over as everyone's looking at the power runners. So it goes back to 36-21. But it goes back to Sale again on the hour. Really good pace from Quirk making the difference. He's looking good this year, which is great. And he commits the defence, and Roebuck's hard line is too good. So they get back to 36-28. Then a bit ugly from Freddie Stewart, who has loads of time to return the kick but puts it straight into touch. But Cowan-Dickey overthrows again. So Sale could have won this game, actually. It's heavy going for Leicester. They're running the ball around halfway. Big carries from Kata, Parise, Ilioni, but Sale tackling really strongly. And that forces the mistake from Leicester. Again, Ford picking the right option, this time an inside ball. So going through all the different options, wide, short and inside. Late passing masterclass from Ford, and it's a try. It goes to 36-35. We just have time for Ilioni to return a kick one more time, exploding through Luke Cowan-Dickey and Ben Bamba, just spinning Ben Bamba around. That was pretty cool. But the game finishes 36-35. A tight win for Leicester. So there we go. That's my take on all the action in round 5. Let me know what you think down below. Do like, do subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you next time.